So Series 1 just got out, and I wanted to give you guys a video talking about the best rookie cards to look at in this checklist. Now, Topps made the decision to move the majority of the rookie cards from Update over into Series 1 this year. So there's a lot of top prospects that got called up last year. A lot of MLB teams decided to call up their prospects since they didn't really have a season in the minor leagues. So there is no season at all. And the minor league season is going to be delayed again this year. So a lot of these guys are still going to stay up here. And I believe there wasn't many service time manipulation issues with that as well. So here's the checklist, and here's some of the guys that I say to pull off to the side if you grab them. So first off on here is we have Joey Bart. Now, I don't like Joey Bart as an investment because he is a catcher, and catcher cards don't go for a lot. I mean, the best catcher in the game right now is, or an all-time, is Johnny Bench, and his cards are dirt cheap. And then you also can take a look at Yogi Berra, who won 3 MVPs and then 10 or 11 rings in total, and his cards are still cheap compared to all these other players. So catching really gets no respect, and a lot of people talk about pitching cards being cheap. Catcher is the absolute worst. Now, Joey Bart is a top 10 prospect last year. If you take a look at this right here and go into Fangraphs, Joey Bart is number 10 listed right here. I don't like Joey Bart though because he doesn't hit a lot of home runs, and he has a decent average, but it's kind of below average in general for something I want to invest in. On top of it, he was born in 96, so he's 24 years old going into rookie season. Don't get me wrong, Joey Bart can be a great player, but his Hall of Fame trajectory or ROI in investments is very low because of being a catcher, getting called up late, and then the lack of power and batting average. I looked into his minor league stats as well for Joey Bart. You can take a look at this right here. He played a little bit in 2019. You can see he played A+ and then AA, where he ended up batting 280 with 16 home runs in 80 games. So if you play that full season, that's 32 home runs with 280. But you have to keep in mind, minor league stats don't always translate over to the major leagues. And you can't take his whole sample size for 2020, only 100 at-bats. So this isn't great. Obviously, batting 233 and then having 0 home runs and 100 at-bats. But just keep in mind, he got called up really old, and yeah, catchers just don't get a lot of respect. So pull it off to the side. He might have some good seasons, but investment-wise, I don't really like Joey Bart. So next guy right here is Sixto Sanchez. And Sixto is an interesting case. He was a really, really highly touted prospect. In fact, if you know the Real Muto trade, Sixto was the main piece of it. Now, he's only listed 48 here, which I disagree with this ranking because his stuff is electric. And he also plays for Miami. So Miami doesn't really get a lot of respect in the card market. A lot of their card prices are very cheap for their prospects compared to other players. However, Sixto has really good stuff. You have to keep that in mind. Now, if you take a look at his stats as well, he should have a really high K per 9. So let's take a look at, for example, his stats last year. So he pitched in 7 games. He had a 3.5 ERA, and he had a 1.2 whip, which isn't too bad. ERA is a little high, whip's a little high. And then his K per 9 is a little bit under 9, which needs a little work. Now he's age 22, so he's about the right age to get called up. I wish he got called up a little bit younger. But you can see also right here, he was the main piece in the Real Muto trade. And I'm telling you, he has really, really good stuff. So if you go down to his minor league stats as well, over here, you can see in 2019, he had an 8K per 9, which again needs to be a little higher, but a 1.07 whip, and then his ERA was a 2.76. In 2018, he had a 2.5 ERA, almost a 9K per 9, and 1.07 whip. And then in 2017, at the age of 18, he had a 0.95 whip, 8K per 9, and then a 3 ERA. So he has potential to be a really good pitcher. Now, the drawback, what people have been saying about Sixto, is his arm dies out pretty early in games. So around the 5th or 6th inning, he loses a lot of his velocity. And if a starting pitcher is like that, long-term potential isn't that great because over time, there's a lot of wear and tear as a starting pitcher, and you need to eat up a lot of innings to get higher stats. The more innings you pitch, the more strikeouts you can get, the more likely you can pick up wins, and that increases your WAR as well. So Sixto, don't get me wrong, if he can expand how long he can pitch in a game, he's going to be a good player. Is there all-star potential here? Yeah, there definitely is. Is he going to be a Cy Young Award winner? I'd say it's a little bit of a stretch, but he has potential looking at his minor league stats. So just throw him off to the side. Don't give away the card for free. But Sixto, really highly touted prospect, just like Joey Bart. But I like Sixto a little bit better than him. And you can see it again, 48 right there. The next guy to go over is Bobby Dalbec. Now, Bobby last year, I believe, hit 4 home runs in a row. Let me just double check. Okay, it was... There we go. He has 5 home runs in the first 9 games of his MLB career. So there you go, right? So he had a really, really good start to his major league career, which is cool. But let's take a look at his prospect status and let's take a look at his stats, right? So first thing, right? He wasn't listed in the top 120 last year for Fangraphs. Not a big deal, right? Some players come out and aren't even ranked at all and do well in the minor and in the major leagues. But now let's take a look at this over here. So first off, big red flag is he's already 25 years old going into age 26. So he's not going to collect the stats as all these other players, right? If you take a look at other people that are like 25 or 26 years old, they already have stats from a ton of seasons. Like, for example, Cody Bellinger, I think, is 25, right? So Cody Bellinger and Dalbec are about the same age. Look at Bellinger. Here he is, 19 WAR. Dalbec has 0.6 WAR. So keep that in mind already. He's really, really old. Now, if you look at his 2020 stats, he did good, right? He had 8 home runs, batting .263. So he's a power hitter. Doesn't hit much for average. Great. In 80 at-bats. So major league season, usually you get about 500, 600, sometimes 700 at-bats, depending where you're at in batting order. Obviously, there's going to be a correction with this as well because pitchers are going to figure out how to pitch to him. But either way, power was there last year, and those 5 home runs in those 9 games really helped out with that. But the real thing is to look at minor league stats because minor league stats can predict a lot of major league stats. And we go over here and take a look and start with the 2019 stats. So in 2019, Dalbec batted .239 with 27 home runs in 135 games. Power is there, but the average is not, right? And then in 2018, .257 with 32 home runs. So this guy can hit a lot of home runs, but his batting average is low in the minor leagues. And major league pitchers are a lot better than minor league pitchers, right? A lot more competition to get into the major leagues and minors. So Dalbec is another one of these guys that just got called up too late. Maybe if he was 20 or 21 years old and he had these stats, I'd say pull his card off to the side, maybe buy a few, but he's already 25 years old. So just keep that in mind if you're buying any of his cards. Next guy I see right here is Devi Garcia, and he's one of the top pitching prospects for the Yankees. So remember, Devi also had a really high K per 9. All right. And I think he was also like a top 100. He is. All right. So last year, Devi Garcia was ranked number 42. And then in 2020, he had a 5 ERA, which is horrible, but he had a low whip, a 1.194 whip, which is really good, right? Actually, it's closer to 1.2. We wanted to get a little lower, but it's still not bad for just getting called up. Now, the thing I really like about Garcia is look at this. He's 21 years old when he got called up, right? Or right now he's 21. He got called up also at that age, but he got called up early, which is great if you're going to collect stats long term, and it makes you closer to the Hall. So what I want to look at, though, is his minor league stats to kind of show you guys what he did over there. As you can see, he was ranked as well last year. And we go over here down into 2019. And in 2019, he played for 3 teams, single A, double A, and triple A. His ERA was a 4.3, not good. But look at the strikeout per 9. It is a 13.3, which is absolutely insane if you think about it, right? 13.3 is really, really good. Whip is concerning, right? 1.4 or 1.34, which is really high. And then his ERA. And we go back to 2018 as well, right? ERA was a 2.55. His whip was a 0.96. And then he had a 13 strikeout per 9. This is your lottery ticket player right here. Plays for the Yankees, right? Big market, young player, age 21. Minor league stats, the strikeouts per nine look really, really good. 13 right there and 13. He might have some control issues because of the high ERA and the high whip over here. But if he can figure this stuff out, very, very dominant pitcher. And I'd say buy a few of his cards cheap, right? He's 21 years old. Give him a shot. He might be a good pitcher long term. Having that high of a strikeout per nine, and if he can lower down his whip in ERA playing for the Yankees, might pull a Cy Young. So I like Devi Garcia, my favorite so far out of all these players that have gone through. Next is Jo Adell. Now, a lot of people forget about Jo Adell, but he was a top 10 prospect in baseball. So you look at right here, number 4, and look who's behind. He's behind Wander Franco, Gavin Lux, and Gore. So really high potential. And actually, you see everyone went crazy over Luis Robert last year. Look who's ahead of him. So I'll show you his minor league stats. Last year he struggled in the majors, but we'll go over that in a second. A few reasons why. So majors, he did absolutely horrible. 161, negative 1.3 WAR. Oof. I didn't realize he did that bad. But there's a few things going for him still, so don't get rid of all your Jo Adell cards yet. So first, he's 21 years old. He's going to be 22, obviously, by the time the season starts. But he's still young, right? He's not like a Dalbec, who's already 25, or Joey Bart, who's 24. Still a younger player. But let's take a look at his minor league stats. You can kind of see as well. There's some concerns, but it looked good. So in 2019, at the age of 20, right, he batted 290, had 10 home runs in 76 games. So if you had a full season, that's 20 home runs, batting 290, okay. In 2018, he had 20 home runs, batting 290 in 100 games. So it looks like he could be a player who hits 30 plus home runs, bats close to 300. Pretty good potential there. I believe he also is pretty good on defense. Correct me if I am wrong. I haven't looked up Jo Adell in a while. So he is a potential kind of like a 5-tool player, right? He can hit for average, he can hit for power, and has good defense. Now, last year was kind of a weird season with COVID, not having a minor league system. So some of this can be a little bit forgiven, especially since a lot of people ranked him really high. And number 4 right here in Fangraphs. And if you look over here, right, Baseball America had him number 3, Major League Baseball had him 6, and Baseball Prospectus had him number 2. So Adell has a lot of potential. I would not throw away his cards, even though he had a bad season last year, right? Players have a bad rookie seasons. It happens. He has good minor league stats, and he's going to be mentored by Mike Trout on the Angels. So someone to look into, give him a shot. All right, so let's keep going through this list over here. The next guy I want to a little bit talk about is Turek Skubal. I'm not going to load up all his stats or anything. A lot of people think he's going to be like a number 2 or 3 pitcher on a pitching staff. If you look at him over here, he was a top 100 prospect, right? Number 53. Actually, I'll look him up. We'll see how old he is. I'm kind of curious. So, yeah, I was right a little bit about that. He is older. He's 24 years old. People predict him to be a number 2 or 3. His stats last year weren't that great. He's a top prospect, but I don't really see a super, super high return on Turek Skubal stuff right now. Next person to take a look at is Nate Pearson. Now, Nate Pearson had an injury last year, but was looking kind of promising for the Blue Jays. Really highly touted prospect as well. Funny enough, me and Nate Pearson are from the same town. So I was born in Odessa, Florida. It's a town outside of Tampa. So yeah, kind of cool with that. He's like 1 or 2 years older than me. Yeah, 24. So I probably never played against him. There's a shot I could have, but he was always like a year older or so. But anyways, I was actually wrong about his stats with the Blue Jays. But I know he's a top prospect. Put over here. So look, he's number 8 overall. He was ahead of Julio Rodriguez, Joey Bart. He's in the realm of Jesus Luzardo and right underneath Luis Robert. So he had really, really good stuff in the minor leagues. If you take a look at his minor league stats, just confirm that real quick. You can see Baseball America put him 7, Major League Baseball put him 8, and then Prospectus, interesting enough, put him number 19. If you look over here, though, in 2019 across 3 seasons, here he had a 0.85 or 0.885 whip, 10.5 strikeouts per 9, and then a 2.3 ERA. Those look really, really solid stats, right? If you go to age 20, 2 teams right here, very, very limited sample size, right, with only 20 innings pitched, but he had a 0.6 whip, 12 K per 9, and a 0.9 ERA. I like Nate Pearson. I wish he was younger, right? Already 24 years old, going to be 25 within this season. So he's going to lack a lot of seasons, right? Someone gets called up at 21, you have 22, 23, 24. He's already going to be 25 pretty much when this starts. So just keep that in mind if you're looking at Nate Pearson stuff. Has really good potential, but is already lacking a few seasons. Next guy I want to take a look at is Ryan Mountcastle. So I believe he actually did have a good season last year. He wasn't a super highly touted prospect. I think he was outside the 100. So he's 108 right here, right? And let me just double check his age. I never looked up his age yet. So he's 23 years old. He's going to be 24, a little bit older, right? But in the season last year, he had 5 home runs, batting .333 with about 0.7 WAR. So it's not too bad with that. Let's take a look at his minor league stats. They dive deeper into it, though. So let's take a look at his registered batting stuff. So over here in 2019, we'll take a look at that first. Mountcastle batted .312, really good. He had 25 home runs, really good, and in 127 games. So I like that, right? In 2018, he batted .297 with 13 home runs in 102 games. So maybe he bulked up a little bit and got a little more power between these 2 years. A little older, so I'm not a huge fan of that, but he has good stats. So take that in mind. He does play for the Orioles, though, so he's not going to have a lot of protection in the lineup. But it looks pretty solid overall. Let's see, the next one is Brady Singer. So this is another pitcher that'd be like a number 2 or 3 in your pitching staff. He was a top 100 prospect as well. And let's see that over here. Oh, I guess he wasn't on this top 100 list. I thought he was. But he plays for Kansas City. So last year he had a 4 ERA. He had a 1.16 whip, which the whip having 1.16, it's in between the 1.1, 1.2. I like having 1.1 lower, so not a big deal. He's older, which I don't really like. But we'll take a look at this over here. You can see in 2019 he was 71 there. They didn't rank him in 2020. Here is number 59, and then he was number 64. So he was top 100. I don't know why he wasn't on that site for some reason. If you take a look at his 2019 stats, right, 2.85 ERA, 1.1 whip, and then 8.4 strikeouts per 9. So solid stats, right? Someone that might emerge. I don't see it as like Cy Young caliber right here, but throw him off to the side. You never know. All right. Next guy I want to take a look at is Christian Javier. Plays for the Astros. Astros have Verlander out right now, so they called him up. That Javier looked actually really good, though, in the season. He is 23, though. He's going to be 24, so keep that in mind. But he had 3.5 ERA, a little high, but I liked his whip, which is at 0.9. And then last year, pitching also, he had a 9 strikeouts per 9, so it looks solid with that. Now, minor league stats, take a look at this as well. So, age 22, he had a, I think that's whip right there, yeah, 0.968 whip. I like that a lot. If you go over here to the ERA, he had a 1.74, 1.74 ERA. Really like that. So, and his strikeouts per 9 is 13.5. Age 21, right? ERA 2.7, 1.1 whip, 11.9. Really, really good stuff. He should be a top 100. Let's just double check. He's not on this list, interesting enough. But yeah, his stuff looked really good because of the whip, because of his strikeouts per 9 and ERA. A little older, but he is playing for the Astros. I know a lot of people hate the Astros, but they do have good pitchers on the team. He's going to get guidance from Greinke and Verlander. So someone to look into and throw off to the side. I don't 100% say invest a lot of money into him, but just keep that in mind. Next guy is Christian Pichel. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Don't remember on top of my head. Roast me down in the comments if I mispronounced it. So we have Christian over here. He was a very highly touted prospect for the Braves, right? Number 20 overall right here. But the problem with him is he's more of a defensive player than he is offensive. So if you take a look at his minor league stats here, we'll go to the age 20 season right here. Right. He batted 277, which isn't too bad. 12 home runs in 130 games. So he's going to be one of those players that does well defensively, probably hits under 20, 25 home runs and bats like 270, 280, which is not wrong to have, or not bad to have on a team. But if you're looking for a 5-tool player that hit for power as well, this isn't your guy. 3,000 hits probably is going to be really hard for him. 500 home runs as well. But he's a solid addition to any team, right? He's going to do well in defense, and that really helps in the major leagues. If you look at the season before, right, 279, 9 home runs in 122 games. So he just doesn't have the power. And with sports card investing and baseball in particular, people love the home run. So always keep that in mind. He's 22, so a good age. Again, he could develop a lot more. He could get a lot more strength, but right now he looks more of a defensive player with that. Now, here's the one guy is going to be really interesting to look at. Luis Patino. Now, if you don't know, he was in the trade for Blake Snell. The Tampa Bay Rays, right? And Patino did get called up last year. He did horrible, but the Rays have been known to do a lot of magic to pitchers. So he was number 18th overall as a prospect, but his minor league stats are insane. So I'll give him a little bit of a leniency with how bad he pitched last year. Now, I believe he was a relief pitcher last year instead of a starter. Again, correct me if I'm wrong with that. But what I do like, he's 21 years old, right? Exactly 21. So he'll be 21 for the season. And if you look at his minor league stats, we'll go over here. At the age of 19, he had a 12 K per 9, 1.1 whip, and then he had a 2.5 ERA. Age 2018 season, 2.16 ERA, 1.06 whip, 11 K per 9. And this is before he got traded to the Rays. And he has really, really good stuff, apparently. I haven't watched too much film on him, but if the Rays trade for a pitcher, they're probably pretty good, especially if they trade away Blake Snell, who is pretty much our ace of our team. So, yeah, I'd be pulling all your Luis Patino stuff off the side. This guy looks really, really good, especially if the Rays can do their stuff with him. Who knows what this guy can be? Yeah, he's one of my favorites. So keep going down this list. Dunning was also a top prospect. Dunning was also a top prospect, but he's not like a number one starter type stuff. You can take a look at this over here. He's 26 years old already. Already, that's a big red flag being 26, right? You're not going to collect stats over time, but could do well in the majors. I just don't like someone that's 26. Ian Anderson, I really like. So you take a look at this. He actually performed extremely well last year in the majors, right? He had 1.08 whip, 1.95 ERA. Plays for the Braves, so he's going to get a lot of wins there. People like the Braves quite a bit. There's a top prospect and as well good stats. So Ian Anderson was 44th overall there. He was the Braves' number one pitching prospect, I believe, and in 2019, right? He had a 3.38 ERA, 1.25 whip, 11 K per 9. So his whip and ERA are a little high for minor leagues. Maybe he had a few bad starts or so, but the strikeouts per 9 was good. In 2018, he had a 2.5 ERA, which is good, 1.14 whip. Pretty good overall, and 11 strikeouts per 9. So Anderson, pretty good overall. I just wish he wasn't that old. He's going to be 23 going into the season. He had a little bit of stats last year, but a little old. Spencer Howard, another top prospect for the Phillies, pitching wise. This was actually kind of a loaded class with pitchers with top prospects with that, but he didn't perform that great at all, right? 6 ERA, 1.6 whip. And he's older, I believe, yeah, 24, so don't really like the age with that one. We look over here with this, right? Let's go over here to 2019 with the 4 teams. He had a 0.8 whip, 12 K per 9, and a 2 ERA. So that was really good. You can see right here is a top prospect. Just wish he was younger. I know Harper was really hyping up Spencer Howard as a pitcher. Again, like, take all these stats for every player as a grain of salt from last year, because 60 games is not enough to have a full season's worth of stats, which even then sometimes for a rookie doesn't mean someone's good or bad, right? It sometimes takes 2 or 3 years to observe someone before you can tell if someone's going to be in the right trajectory or not. But I just don't like the age. Now here's one that everyone really, really likes. Alec Bowman. Only issue though with him, he's already 24 years old. A lot of people would think he's another Freddie Freeman type player, but if you take a look at Freddie Freeman, Freeman started really young, right? He started age 20. This guy's 24 already, so he's not going to collect the stats. Don't get me wrong, he looked really good. He's a top prospect, right? Number 56 overall there. Go with this. You can see also last year, or 2 years ago, I should say now, he batted 305. He had 21 home runs in 125 games. So potential 5-star if, or 5-tool, not 5-star. You can blow up the power a little bit more, but yeah, overall, with that being said, I just don't like investing in 24-year-olds as rookies. Dylan Carlson, really, really good as well. Number 39 here. But he struggled last year at the plate, I believe. So 0 WAR. Bad 200. He really struggled. Age 22, so still young, right? Has another season. Take his minor league stats. So 2019 at the age of 20. Bad 292. 26 home runs in 126 games. Really, really like that. In 2018, 246, which is low. 11 home runs. So he kind of broke out in 2019. He has that one single season. So I'd be wary of that with investing in prospects. But either way, he's a top prospect for the Cardinals. Could do well. They have a really good hitting team now that they have Arenado. They also have Goldschmidt. So good player. And then Tristan McKenzie plays for the Cleveland Indians. Also should be pretty young, I believe. Oh, I was wrong. So he's a little older, right? He's 23 years old. If you look at these stats from last year, 0.9 whip, 3.2 ERA, really good with that. He was a top prospect for a while, but he actually got injured. I can't remember what he had injury-wise. He got a lot of strikeouts, though. I think he led the minor leagues and stuff. So you can see, right, he was a top prospect from 2017 to 2019, but they removed him in 2020 because of his injury. So you can see the whole season was skipped. Maybe it was Tommy John. So just keep that in mind. He already got his Tommy John surgery. So it's pretty rare to have someone get 2 Tommy John surgeries. Let me just double check. I don't want to keep you out there. So he did get Tommy John, right? So keep that in mind. He already had his Tommy John surgery. Most pitchers nowadays get their Tommy John surgery, so they lose a season. He already lost it before he got called up, which is good, right? Got it done with. And he's not going to lose a full season now. And he's 23. But if you look at his stats before his Tommy John, right? He had a .95 whip, 10 strikeouts per 9. And he had a... Where was it at? I missed it. Oh, there we go. So yeah, 12 K per 9 right there. 1.05 whip, 3.5 ERA, 2.7 ERA, 1 whip, almost a 9 strikeouts per 9. And the Indians can develop pitchers really, really well. I like Tristan McKenzie. Looked really good pitching wise. One of those players to pull off the side for sure. And then one last guy is Casey Mize. Casey did horrible last year. 7 ERA, 1.5 whip. But he is a top prospect pitching wise. He plays for Detroit. And you can see right here, one side I have number 7, another 12, number 13. So he's really, really highly touted. And then looking at his minor league stats right over here. 2019, 0.9 whip, almost 9 strikeouts per 9, and then 2.55 ERA, which looks solid. We'll go to 2018 real quick. 9 whip, or 9, not 9 whip, 9 strikeouts per 9, 1.17 whip, and then 3.95 ERA. And then over here, he was 16th overall. So, yeah, those are some of the top cards that you should pull off to the side. These players might be able to break out this year, next year. Just depends on how they end up doing with the season. I know there's a lot more pitchers than position players that look at investment wise. Pitchers are more of kind of lottery picks with prospecting. A lot of them have really good minor league stats, but don't translate well to the major leagues. And it happens all the time. And position players, yeah, that does happen. But as we've seen like in recent years, baseball's been able to predict these players a little bit better. But just a quick recap, at least. If I was going to go after any of these guys over here, I really like Devi Garcia because he's young and plays for the Yankees. Joe Dele was a top 5 prospect for 2 years, I believe. And he has guidance from Trout on the Angels. LA has a lot of money, so LA cards do go for a bit more money. I know he struggled really well. I struggled a lot last year, but could be really good with that. Just going to keep going down. Ryan Mountcastle looks solid, but he was a bit older. McKenzie already got his Tommy John surgery, plays for the Indians, who can develop pitchers extremely well. Carlson is still a little younger, had that 1 season, so it's only 1 season, but younger, plays for the Cardinals. And then Ian Anderson looked really good last year pitching, but Patino, if I was going to make a bet on one player to break out, this is the guy right here. It looked good before he went to the Rays, and the Rays do amazing things with pitchers. So if there's one player to get into, I'd say Patino. He's a pitcher, so keep that in mind. Position player-wise, you go with Joe Adele. But those are my 2 picks right there if you're going to go after players. It'll be kind of interesting to see how they do in the baseball season itself. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. There's a ton of effort into researching all these players and staying up to date. Fantasy baseball helps quite a bit with this, especially like picking up players for your team. So if you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe and comment down below what players you're pulling off the side in Topps Series 1. And I'll catch you guys in another video.